Hello lovely listeners, welcome to another edition of Tales for Wales, an inaccurate drunk Welsh history lesson. Throughout the series we discuss famous Welsh battles, events, people. If you're still listening, you know the gist by now. We just bloody love Wales, everything Welsh basically. I'm Jack, I'm joined by Franks as ever, my close friend, my confidant, my brother in arms in this battle that is history education. I don't know why I rolled the R in brother good, so man. Much then, but yeah.
I looked behind the curtain, your first one there, you stopped, you went, oh, that wasn't very good. And then you came back with oomph.
I came out with some gusto, yeah. I'm doing it justice.
You're shopping at gusto, you're getting your meals a week. That was pretty good.
Yeah. So anyway, we are going to be talking about another famous pirate from Wales. We've done one already in Captain Morgan, but today we're going to be talking about the infamous Barti Ddu, and you'll hear a bit more about him in a bit. But for now, how the bloody hell you been, mate?
Oh, you hear that? The crack of the whip. Back at it, baby. Although this is a Tuesday night record, and we're always a bit tired on Tuesday nights, aren't we? We find it's a bit too close for us.
I've perked up okay, you know. I said to you, we both texted each other, I'm a bit tired, yeah, me too. And then, I had a couple of beers.
You texted me saying you've been me too'd.
Oh, no.
I'm joking.
Very good.
Just a little Ryan joke for you there.
We're back at it, baby. We're back in straight away. I know normally on a Tuesday I'm not nearly this spry, but...
yeah, I was really zonked, and then because we've had a little bit of a break in recordings, even though we've got a bunch of episodes lined up, and this is the first little recording in a while, I was like, oh, do you know what? That'll get me through today. And then I went to the shops and I bought four of the finest pints of Carlsberg. You might have heard it, a Danish Pilsner. Got ourselves a bottle of rum, and I feel I'm excited.
What more do you need?
What more do you need? Man for it.
I've got Moretti's, some leftover Moretti's from Sunday. Gonna sink those, they're nice and easy. Then I got some San Migs, bringing it up a little bit. And then I've got a nice vodka flavoured water aperitif to see me through the end of the night.
Vodka flavoured water?
Yeah, I just got to get my hydration up now, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if that sounds good.
Not as spry as I used to be.
You're scrambling around the back of the alcohol cupboard.
The co-op is pretty sparse these days. So.
Oh, well, I went to Tesco in there, and they've there is something glorious about walking to the booze aisle, and I just as it unravels as you get closer to it, you think, oh, what can I have? I mean, I always have the same. There's always Carlsberg or Carlsberg.
Yeah. Always, but you do the same as me. You peruse it though, don't you? You go, I might go for this today. I won't. But it's
like the equivalent of kids going to like a candy shop, or like when you were younger and you like go to a toy place and you have all the options and. Still play the Playmobil, but
it's always the best when you go to the big Tesco, so you know you're getting proper booze at the big Tesco. Like you go into a party, or you know when we went for the little trip away and everything, the road trip. You know, you're just going like, oh, now I can stretch the purse strings a little bit, and I can get like something a little bit nicer.
It's crazy, isn't it? Sorry, I don't know why I said it's crazy.
Oh, so great! That's the response of someone that wasn't fucking listening.
I'm so sorry.
You were absolutely scrolling through your phone then, weren't you?
Like my phone just lit up. I had like loads of messages.
Well, fucking ignore it then.
You know, that's so funny you said that. One time when I was travelling when I was younger, we met these proper sound lads from like that island, like Jersey or like the posh
Guernsey
island.
Or whatever. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. One of them. One of them was a tax haven, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tax haven place. But they were really sound guys. And it went against all my better judgment to be like, usually I'd hate anyone from a tax haven. But we were like mid-20s. And they were quite cool. And we were in Mississippi. No, we were in New Orleans, or Narlands as they call it. And we were outside. We were like in a hostel. And it was hostel vibes, so like loads of young people. There's a pool outside. And we've been drinking quite a bit. We were planning what we were doing for that night. And these two like really pretty girls walked past me, and I went, and the guy was talking to me about the plans for tonight, and I don't even think he said much. And I went, yeah, should be good though, yeah, just see what happens.
Just a placeholder fucking response, yeah, like you're an NPC.
Yeah, and I was trying to be cool in front of these people, and he said to me, "Hang on, did you just say?" Should be good though, see what happens. I went, yeah, I didn't say anything. And he went, did you say that to impress those two girls? I was like, oh no. And then he wrote a whole song on his guitar. He went, should be good though, see what happens. really, really made me laugh.
I remember being on the phone. I can't remember to now. It was one of you boys at some point, and I think it was James actually. And I was talking to him, and I was asking him what he wanted to do or something like that. And I was like, "Oh, so what do you reckon? Like a pub, and then this and all of that." And he was going, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I said, "Yeah, but which do you want to do though?" Yeah, yeah. He was obviously just. I'd obviously bored him up until that point so much that he'd gone. I'll just have a quick look at my phone, and also Jack's speech must be so predictable that I can just go, yeah, yeah, just get through it. So thanks for bringing me back to that, by the way.
Yeah, sorry. I just I did get a bit distracted by my phone. But listen here, listeners, you've got me strapped in out as I just finished this text.
One more text has come through.
Let me just see. I went on my phone to check my notes to be fair to me, and I thought you could hold the conversation for a second.
Oh God, yeah. I was asking you a question. What did you even say? I can't remember now.
It's
like, yeah, that's crazy, man. That's crazy.
That's crazy. Imagine I ever responded that to anything you said. Whoa, man, it's pretty crazy.
Nothing I ever tell you is crazy. Don't worry,
man. Nothing's crazy, and I'm never praised by anything. That's so funny. That's just me being rude, isn't it? That's just I wasn't listening. Fuck, I'm sorry.
It's all right. We've hit the ground running. You've come back strong.
We've come back strong. This is going to be a good episode. I can feel it in my bones. Yeah. Talking about
you got any
skeleton? No, crossbones. That's what.
Yeah, the old Jolly Roger.
The old Jolly Rogers. Do you want to hit, before we get into that, should we do a classic bit of improv bants?
Yeah. What? Something I've been up to is, so much has happened since last time.
Yeah. So some people have messaged me saying, the order doesn't seem right, because in the first episode you say, this is, like, we talk about other previous episodes. And just for anyone listening, anyone can say, like, you haven't missed any episodes. None are missing. It's just, we thought we'd put them out in the ones that might be most appealing to a wider audience first, or get you on board with the kind of the humour that we have.
We're desperate to be loved, so, you know.
Yeah, we don't want to really stuff. And we've done loads of episodes that just were shit. So we didn't
want to put out the absolute dross first,
no.
Like
and not just
absolute tanker interest.
They also sounded awful and all this, like, loads of issues with them. So yeah, no one's missing anything. And the reason I said improv then is because when you have to categorize the podcast on, like, platforms, you have to. It gives you the options we have are history, stand-up, or improv. So. We went
I don't think we fit into improv, but we don't fit into stand-up either. No. So we had to just make the best of a bad situation on that one.
History and improv, that's the two things we're known for.
I'm pretty sure people go like, Tales Away is a brilliant, like, improv history podcast. Yeah.
Improv. I hate the word improv. It's fucking awful.
Yeah,
isn't it?
It makes me it makes my toes curl a little bit, like, thinking, I don't like it. Whatever the connotations of that are. Is toes curl a thing for fucking getting your end away? Actually, I think I really fucked that up a bit.
No, I don't think
I meant like when you cringe, sort of thing. Yeah, toes curl is me. I absolutely blow my beans.
Yeah, it has been a little bit of time since we've done a proper pod though, because we've got a bunch saved up, haven't we? That are going to come out for season 2 anyway. But we thought we'd get involved with this one because we've had a few messages saying they like the pirates. So we thought we'd give another pirate.
So just to confuse the order of things more, we're doing our most recent one. We're going to jam it in season 1 sometimes.
Yeah. So just don't worry about the order. We'll worry about the order. You just sit back.
Yeah. You just sit back, listen, and enjoy it. Don't worry about it.
Anyway,
so any little funny anecdotes between? Yeah, you beat me to it. Any funny little anecdotes you want to share? If you can be bothered to get off your damn phone for 2 seconds.
This was quite a funny little. So, like, with my work, they give you one of the benefits you get is 8 free therapy sessions a year. And I've never done therapy, so I thought, I'll give it a go. And the first one was
did you open Pandora's box? Did you realise there's so much more wrong with you than you thought, and thought, I don't like this, and I'll do it anymore?
Black eels started pouring out of me.
There's bile coming from me.
The devil came up behind you. Oh God, this is too much for me. I'm just an online therapist, not even a fully.
Yeah, your therapist said you didn't want to speak to you anymore. Scaring her.
Well, the guy I was talking to kept trying to push issues back to childhood and family, and I was like, I actually don't think it is. I think it's just me not being probably my ego, or I said going into all the stuff where I think it's I don't really think it's good to blame other people for your stuff. And anyway, he was like, hey, I think it might be about your dad. If I'm honest with you, it's probably around to do with your father. What's your relationship like with your father? And I went, oh, well, that's funny you say that, because me and my mate Ollie, we wanted to do a podcast called How Mad's Your Dad? Because we both got dads who were quite mad.
Mad?
Yeah, we want the best and they're a bit mad. And he went, yeah, I really wouldn't recommend you making light-hearted jokes around yourself for that, especially on a podcast forum. It's like, oh,
listen, I can tell you now, this guy doesn't know fucking shit all about therapy, okay? If he's telling us not to do a funny podcast and he hasn't got a clue.
I did think to myself, well, you're not coming on as a guest, you little grump.
Yeah, you've been banhammered from Tales for Wales. Don't bother listening.
When he did say, how mad's your dad? Yeah, I definitely wouldn't think about doing that. I wouldn't make a light-hearted situation about it.
Did he say, how mad is your dad?
Tell me, how mad is your dad? There's more to Ireland than this.
Tune in every Sunday and you'll find out, my friend. One subscriber.
Oh, give us a cheeky 5-star and you'll find out how mad my dad really is. Yeah, so that was a bit of a. It was just because his reaction was, he was so gentle. He's like, yeah, I just don't really think that's the best way of managing your emotions. Maybe you should talk about it in this situation. Yeah, maybe.
It sounds like I couldn't. Sounds like I couldn't hack therapy already, because I'd be like going, don't you fucking tell me how to live my life. If I want to be self-destructive, I will do it.
Yeah, it's also the 30-minute sessions. I do just I thought the first one would be a bit of a laugh. I don't know why. I think they're kind of romanticized, aren't they? Like in American TV shows. And then you do
yeah, we were expecting a Goodwill Hunting moment. It's not your fault, Franks. Yeah. It's not your fault. Yeah. I know. Oh, sorry.
In reality, it probably is my fault. And it's just be a bit of a
yeah, so and I'd rather be blissfully unaware of it, if you don't mind.
Well, I did like the fact that he was kind of passing the buck as well. I said, it might be true with your ma. How is your ma? And I thought, my ma is fine, thank you.
I don't have a ma.
Yeah. So I don't know, it's maybe not for me, but I'm sure it's really helpful for lots of people.
He said unenthusiastically, yeah, I'm sure it's really great for everyone. Brilliant, yeah. Back to Instagram.
Anyway, what about you? What's new?
I got a few little noted down here because it's been a while since we've done this last time. I think I've told you already about my absolutely dog shit Christmas with my family. Yeah. Have I told you? Yeah.
I hope they don't listen.
No. So yeah, no, they wouldn't. I don't think, will they? No, it'd be fine. It's not that it was my family as such. Anyway, it was just this.
You could hear the handbrake now.
Backpedaling. Yeah. Yeah. If I was with your therapist and I go, what do you think of your family? Shite. But no, the family were great. It was there was an unexpected guest in the familial home in the newbie household this year. A fly in the ointment, if you will. My mum likes to pick up little waifs and strays, like any old biddy or just someone she thinks needs a friend or whatever. She always just picks them up. And this year we had a little old lady turn up. I think I've met her before, called Maggie. And I'm sorry, Maggie, if you're listening to this, I doubt you are. You look about 90 something. I doubt you're on the podcast sort of scene. But if you are, I'm sorry, but you're fucking boring, love.
Yeah, I think to myself, you're fucking dead boring. I think to myself, you're fucking dead boring, bitch.
Basically that. And it was just, I tried my best because I thought, oh, bless her, she's like an old lady. She hasn't got any family or anything like that, this Christmas. That's terrible. I'll come and say hello to her and all that. I talked to her, and then she was going on about how she's got 5 kids and I don't know, 1 million grandkids. And I was thinking, why the fuck are they not dealing with this instead of me? Yeah, just a bit fucking dull.
Yeah, but it's just bleak. I'm worried that's what Christmas will be like for, because I mainly don't want to have kids, and our partners don't have kids. Imagine if we're in some miracle, or not miracle, some divine act of God that they keep me and you alive, not our partners who clearly will live longer than us. If me and you we'll be hanging around begging to go to someone's house for Christmas. But
I don't think I'll ever be that boring. I'm not. That's not me giving myself a pat on the back. I'm just. It's and also just so depressing. It's fucking Christmas, Have some honey, sweeten yourself up. This is fucking ridiculous. It's. She was saying but you'd be talking about just general stuff. And she'd be like, oh, yeah, of course. Well, I can't enjoy that anymore, can I? Oh, why not? Not after my husband died. Jesus. The ghost of Christmas past. come on. Like, and then the thing is, I felt bad as well. Like, loads of people were saying, just fucking leave her there. Stop interacting with her. You're ruining your own Christmas. But like, there was something. I'm just such a goddamn nice guy that I every time I got up and was leaving, I was like, I can't just leave the little old lady on her own, because everyone else was doing the sensible thing, and whenever she came into the room, they would all slowly but surely leave her presence and go into the other room.
Oh,
and I thought, oh, I can't leave the little old lady, boring as she might be, do that. But yeah, Christ. And then to top it all off, right, I get a trifle every year. My mum makes a trifle. Okay.
You start to like little Lord Fauntleroy. I get a trifle every year.
No, I really did kick off this year.
Over here.
Well, I kick off this year. I don't like change, right? So it used to be a nice strawberry trifle, and then my mum one year changed it to a cherry. And thank God it was a change for the better, because I was kicking off about it. Anyway, this year she went, oh, I've done something a bit different. I've done an orange trifle. And I was like,
I mean, that does sound
I don't know about this. Also, I sent a picture to Amy's family, because she was with me at the time, and like, you know, the base is meant to be like lady fingers or like some sort of sponge.
I hate that word. I think that's such a disgusting
lady fingers.
Word, yeah.
It's a bit gross. Yeah,
you got lady fingers.
Not as gross as this. Instead of having like a sort of spongy thing like that, she just put like Scotch pancakes at the bottom.
Your mum is a bit Heston Blumenthal, isn't she?
She's gone mad. She's absolutely lost her head.
Can we just quickly tell the reader, the listeners, what you used to have for your school dinners? Jack would get like the proper cheapest white bread you could have, like proper nice white bread, like proper scummy. I think it's nice, but it's like the cheapest white bread.
It's like thick doorstep bread,
Yeah. And then American cheese in the plastic film.
Yeah, the old singles.
But how many would you get, without exaggerating?
Oh, like, if you think about how many singles cheeses it would take for you to be able to squeeze it and it not just split. Imagine that. It wouldn't split. It was so hard.
There would be about 10 slices of that, wouldn't there, in it?
Oh, yeah. She must have been propping up the singles cheese industry at this point.
And then you'd have a bag of crab sticks.
Oh, those were bang. I did like those. They weren't, everyone knows what I'm about. This little sort of red and white things that, like, they weren't real crab.
They're not even allowed to be called that anymore. They're like crab-like.
No, they're called they're like fish parts or something.
Oh,
I don't know, whatever the fuck they're called.
That is grotesque. Oh, God.
I used to have them. Everything a growing boy needs: singles cheese and fish parts.
They weren't even like chilled. You'd have them in your bag.
They'd have been in my bag all day. Stinky Jack all holes in the morning.
Because I was the opposite. I'd always forget my lunch at home, or if I did remember it, I'd be a fat lad and eat it the night before, and then have nothing the next day, and I'd just get scraps off people around. They'd just give me
everyone used to have a whip around for you, didn't they? Like, you can have my crisp today, you can have my apple today, you can have...
I won't be no bother. I'm like this old lady at Christmas.
Yeah. Fucking Maggie. Our very own Maggie. Sorry to circle back to the trifle, because I'm still traumatized, but it was shite in the morning. I had to, through gritted teeth, because it's Christmas, I didn't want to say, Mum, that was shit. But I had to say, like, yeah, it's not quite as good as the cherry one, though. Maybe go back to the fucking cherry next year, yeah? Instead of trying to, I don't know, reinvent the wheel. There's a reason no one has fucking orange trifle. Crazy woman.
Yeah. So, but like I said, this is from the woman who used to pack you.
She's not right.
Temperature crab sticks. Oh, bless her.
It's not even sanitary to store them.
No. But I reckon there's no real food in those stuff anyway. There's no risk of anything going off.
It's all chemicals, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, talking of crab sticks, should we move on to the meat and bones of today's... Sorry, the meat and potatoes of today's...
Oh, Jesus, well, we've done 20-odd minutes of just absolute guff, so we might as well get into it, yeah.
Well, I thought crab sticks, because I will cover in a little bit, so I'm going to lead us through the Barti Ddu stuff today. But as a heads up, we're probably going to do like the early stuff, rather than a specific battle or anything, but like an overview of him. And in that, they cover... I've written down some notes on what pirates used to eat, and I reckon you had a worse time than the pirates. So, Are you ready for me to start?
Go for it, mate, yeah.
Okay. So, Bartholomew Roberts, born John Roberts, was a Welsh pirate and the most successful pirate of the golden age of piracy, and he took over 400 prizes, which means like 400 ships in his career. So that's pretty good going to...
He's a very busy boy, wouldn't he?
And also, so he went from John to Bartholomew. Like, Bart is clearly a trickster's name, and there's no reason. He doesn't really quote why he went from, like, it wasn't nicknamed or anything. He just went one day.
He was a big Simpsons fan, wasn't he?
He was a Mad Cinnamons fan.
He kept saying, we take a ship and go, "Ay, caramba."
So
also,
that was pretty awful.
He does say "ay, caramba," Bart.
Yeah, I mean, he did it in a really like Hispanic accent, which he doesn't really do.
Did I? I really didn't try to. I think I was like swallowing my own spit or something.
Oh, that's what you think they sound like, is it? So before we start, I want to quickly say it's wild how many like hugely important pirates were Welsh. We've already discussed Captain Morgan. And then we have Barti Ddu, who is the most prolific pirate, the golden age of piracy. And then Hywel Davis, who is one of the most revered pirates of his age. And he's the man who got Barti into it. So I think we should do a whole episode.
Got him into the business,
anyway.
Didn't they? Yeah, we should actually.
On him. But there's like a whole like load of different Welsh pirates, all from the same part of West Wales. And it's bizarre, for a small country, even a smaller part of a small country, all in West Wales, we seem to develop.
I wonder, was it like a life was so shit there that they just went, you know what, I'm probably better off like plundering other people on the high seas. Let me tell you
a tale of how this infamous pirate started off. So Barti Ddu, or Black Bart in English, and he's known that I think because the reports he has big black hair and a big black beard. So Barti, I'm going to call him Barti Ddu. He was born in Casnewydd Bachon, which was a village in Puncheston. And now I think Puncheston strikes me as one of those towns that like was named after what it did. So, you know, like Swindon's etymology comes from the Saxon word like swine dun, meaning like pig hill. So it's like and it was a place where they used to breed pigs from. So I feel like Puncheston's a real say what you see kind of place.
Yeah. It was a real punchy kind of town.
Yeah, Puncheston. You know that town where everyone knocks each other out? You know, it's next to Foxville and Monsterdam.
Everyone just likes lumping shit out of each other. Yeah.
You missed me say Monsterdam, which I think was
Oh, that is very good. Apologies. That deserved my attention.
But also, because that's where you grew up, wasn't it?
Anyway. I knew you were fucking doing something there. I knew it wasn't just a genuine ask for my attention. Just kick me.
No, I'd be from Trixville. Anyway, Barti from Puncheston was the son of a farmer. And in about 1665, in my notes I've written 1965, and I did this last time. I always get the dates so wrong, with always thinking we're in the 90s. But yeah, so in 1665, he set off at the tender age of either 11 or 13 to join the Royal Navy, which was also
I saw 13. I thought that's very young.
Yeah, and like joining the Navy back then was like incredibly grueling and massively unrewarding. And so that was around, for about 20 years after that, he lived a fairly unremarkable life, and history doesn't hear from him again until around 1719. So Roberts was, Barti, sorry, I won't call him Roberts, I don't like that. Barti was second mate on the slave ship Princess, and was parked, or not parked, what to do with a boat? Docked.
Docked, yeah, that's it.
It was docked on the Gold Coast of West Africa, which is present day Ghana, when so I assume in doing some heinous slave trading.
Probably, picking up slaves or something. Yeah, so horrible like that.
But then, how the turntables, because whilst they were there, their boat got captured and taken over by pirates. So yeah, he was there with the Royal Navy, and these pirates came in two boats. One boat was called the Royal Rover, and the other was called the Royal James, which I think is quite funny that they were pirate ships, but they still believed in the monarchy.
Yeah, it's an odd sort of dictum in there of it.
I don't think you meant to change a pirate's name. I think that might be bad luck on the old seven seas, but who knows?
Oh yeah, who knows?
So anyway, these boats were led by Hywel Davis, and I mentioned him earlier. Hywel was considered one of the big boppers in the pirate game, although he hadn't been doing much pirate activities for that very long. He'd only been doing it for a couple of years, and he's already renowned as one of the best pirates there were. Hywel would always make the crews he captured either join him or they'd get killed, so he was quite brutal.
They all walk the plank.
But after reading up on it, joining the pirates wouldn't have been that much worse than the time spent in the Navy.
Yeah, I sort of read that up as well. It sounds like the Navy was kind of shit. Like you said, very unrewarding for like the labour you're putting in.
Yeah. So anyway, whilst Hywel took over, this. So this is mad. They were so Barti came from Wales, and he's now down on west of Africa, and he's just been boarded by a pirate who's also from Wales, from West Wales, from a town just over from his. So instantly, Howell took a quick liking to Barti because, firstly, Barti's really good at navigating the sea. He was always renowned for that, and he could speak Welsh. And so together, these two Welshmen on a ship full of people who couldn't speak Welsh could tell each other secrets, gossip, slag each other.
I was saying they were bitching about the boys, weren't they?
Yeah.
They were bitching them out.
Absolutely. But now this meant that Howell could confide in Barti, and the two grew a really good bond together. And Barti V was originally anti the pirate game, which I imagine is because he probably lost loads of friends in the Navy to pirates. But after a bit, he realised that it was far more democratic, far more chance of career progression, because when he was in the Navy, he wouldn't be allowed to become a captain due to him being a commoner, and he was only making £4 per month. So pretty tough going.
Did you see the quote that he was supposedly said back in the day?
I'm getting there.
Oh yeah, I'll let you do it then. You give it. Some gusto.
So I think the quote comes from this book that's a bit spurious due to no one's really been able to evidence his credibility because it's been written by. Well, the person who wrote it goes by a few different names, and they believe the quotes are true, but they believe the person who wrote them kind of lied about his influence with the pirates. But it's
cool, though, then print it, innit?
But, well, apparently he was... this is not the spurious part, but the wider book itself is spurious, but this part was quite well documented. And in it, they were interviewing... the author interviewed Barti, and Barti was quoted as saying, well, actually, I'll throw it up to you so you can read it, and then I'll...
Yeah, go on, I'll go. I'll try and give it the nuance that Barti would have liked. So he said about being with the pirate, in an honest service there is thin commons, low wages and hard labour. In this, plenty and satiety, I'm assuming I said that right, pleasure and ease, liberty and power. And who would not balance creditor on this side, when all the hazard that is run for it, at worst is only a sour look or two at choking? No, a merry life and a short one shall be my motto.
So it's kind of like live fast, die young.
Live fast, die hard, mate.
Yeah, so the book that would come from is called The General History of the Robberies and Murders of the Most Notorious Pirates. So if anybody wants to read up any more on that, they can find that book themselves. Now, according to Terry Breverton, so this is us actually doing research for once. Terry Breverton,
for you at least,
from Cardiff University, he said life on a pirate ship was a lot more convivial and attractive than working on a slaver, where life expectancy on a slave ship, even for the people running it, not the slaves, was only 2 to 3 years. So if you just stay on a slave ship for that long, you're probably not going to make it to anything past that. So this life on a pirate ship was far preferable. Much better quality of life and lots more freedom. And I didn't really realise this at the time, but pirates were really into democracy and equality, which I suppose makes sense.
Yeah, they were quite progressive, and I know we're going to touch on that later with like the code and everything, but yeah, they were quite progressive for a couple of boys in the, was it 1800s? No, 1700s.
Yeah, 1700s. And it makes sense, because like, if they're meant to be now free men, why would they choose to leave the army just to join another army where they had no say in? So it makes sense that pirates would rather not have to all be, aye captain their way across it. I
like that you had said as well, like the life on a navy ship was really shit, and it's like, oh, well, you at least paid really well. Your life expectancy of 2 to 3 years. No, dog shit, mate. All right, brilliant.
And
best
you
of
can't
both
progress. And all on pirate ships, all the higher up people were elected and also could be deselected. The captain only had authority during battle. So even though you had captains of ships, they wouldn't like, it's not my way or the highway. They only really took proper control when there was battles going on. So after researching this, I went into quite a lot of detail I read loads about what it's like to live in the pirates in the 1700s. And
was it way grimmer than what Pirates of the Caribbean shows?
Remember the song "A Pirate's Life for Me"? I'm going to put it out there. A pirate's life is not for me. And it is awful.
It might be controversial, but I'm just going to say it.
But so I found some stuff around what's it like on not just pirate ships, but just at sea in general, which I think would have been fucking terrifying. So the first thing I looked at was like punishments. So captains of like government ships in the Navy felt like they needed to rule with an iron fist because sea workers might have had experience past beforehand. So they felt like, well, it's the no carrot, all stick kind of mentality. And they punished them in pretty brutal ways. Oh, cheers, mate. So seamen were often, they could be tarred and feathered, They could be tied to a rope, swung overboard, and ducked to the water, or they'd be something called keel hauled, which meant
keel hold. Yeah, I know about keel hold. That's grim. You say that like a little horror story for the listeners.
It's rough. So keel hold, which meant they were dragged around the bow of the ship, and they'd either be stretched across the front of it, so they'd head would just be above the water, and they'd be slowly waterboarded and died, or splashing their head on the back of them, the rock solid rope of the boat, and having their backs all cut up from the barnacles and all the other stuff there, or they'd be dragged from the bottom of it, and they'd be either dragged across the floor of the ocean, or not the ocean, but where they were in more shallow waters, or
yeah, they were in the shallows, didn't they?
Yeah. So it was either slow torture, a slow death. You'd hopefully have a quick death by banging your head so hard in the boat that you lost consciousness from the lack of blood.
I'd be throwing my head into the into the wood.
Yeah, well, I saw a photo of it, and it's they usually do that for some of the worst things on the boat, but not for murder. So it's like stealing, you could have that done for you, or like getting into fights. The most common thing that would happen is flogging, which the whole crew would often be made to watch, and that's when they'd get the end of these big ropes and all the infamous cat o' nine tails and whip the skin off a boy. And then any seaman found guilty of mutiny or murder would be, which I think what they do now, they hang them from the yard arm, which is a part of the boat. But I think the keel hold, where you're dragged along the boat, up the bottom of the water, or you're cut open from the barnacles, is a much worse one than just getting hung.
Yeah, that sounds a lot more horrific, isn't it? At least when you're getting hung, there's the nice chance that you might snap your neck.
Yeah.
You never know.
But also on this, so on top of all the punishments, you're living on planks of rotten wood with rats and nothing but pent-up angry men for company, on top of the actual sea, surrounded by sharks and kelp, or other rubbish stuff. I mean, kelp's probably the worst
sharks
part
and
about
kelp. Sharks being the danger, I assume, and kelp being what, the boring.
Yeah, but it's not even like you got a Mackey's by you, it's just kelp.
No, I imagine they didn't. No.
Sea is terrifying anyway. Like, it's monstrous and vast and omnipotent and like.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not a fan. I don't like it when you're in the sea and thalassophobia. You're on about. Yeah, scary.
So for people who don't know, thalassophobia is the fear of the sea or vast bodies of water, and it's like you can go on Reddit and you'll just like scroll through of like people on boats and swaying and like it's just terrifying.
I don't like being in the sea, like, up to my fucking knees, and if I step on a little bit of seaweed, I'm like, ugh, and
absolutely.
I run out. So I don't like it. Give me a nice pool.
Especially back then, I just picture them as like these giant wooden coffins bobbing along the Atlantic, like surrounded by nonce. It's just horrible.
Surround every one of them's a nonce.
Yeah, they might not be. They might come from Amsterdam, but not all of them. And then like seasickness. I was just imagining it. Just be grim. But
and then they used to have like scurvy as well, don't they? No,
well, that's the other thing. So like you'd be soaking wet, so you'd always be getting colds, and like just being not getting colds, but you'd always be getting sick from just not being warm. And the diet was awful, so you get loads of scurvy and malnutrition. And they often carry, like loads of rats are on these boats, and they're always like rife with disease. So they often pirates, people, especially those who were in like the lower decks, would always end up getting bitten, and you'd end up resulting in like a slow and painful death from infections from rat bites.
Ugh,
and then on top of that, you have shipboard accidents, like so maimings and deaths at times of battle.
Well, I read something earlier, and it was like, do you know why sort of pirates, in popular media depicted with eye patches and wooden legs and stuff like that? And it's like because shit could go wrong quite often on a boat that could like whip your eye out, or like you get your leg trapped in something and rip it off, and it's just an occupational hazard. It's like, sounds great.
And if they did get sick, the surgeon was crap. Like they worked in filthy conditions with no anaesthetic, so infections and gangrene were also like really frequent occurrences. Like you said, then like they would have like wooden legs and stuff, and it just all. You just get your leg chopped off and something goes wrong.
Also, imagine like some guy, like some surgeon's like, I just need to perform a bit of surgery on you. It's got to be extremely precise. I got to have and don't worry though, I have a real steady hand. And then you get like a little wave, goes, oops, and just like slices up your body.
Yeah, I reckon. It's not for me. My advice to anyone joining the Navy back then is it's like what Neil Kinnock said before Labour lost the election to the Tories. He goes, "I warn you not to be ordinary, not to be young. I warn you not to fall ill, and I warn you not to grow old."
I warn you not to be ordinary. I warn you not to be young. I warn you not to fall ill, and I warn you not to grow old.
But it wasn't all doom and gloom. There was time off, so sometimes you'd be allowed to enjoy just being on the sea and being able to enjoy
It's
the
not like you're
booze.
just talking about any modern job. Don't worry, it's not all doom and gloom. You sometimes get time off.
But so they'd also drink quite a lot on these boats, and I was like, "Oh, that's okay." And I thought, "Oh, you are still drinking on a rickety fucking boat, and if it's like a storm comes in, they're not going to be like, 'Oh no, I'm not working today.' You're still going to have to be made to do it."
Yeah, you can get hungover.
Swaying back and forth with loads of angry men around you. It's like being on a fucking party boat in Chaos. It'd just be shit.
But you have to scrub the deck every now and then.
And I will go back to Barti Ddu in a second, I promise. But I thought I'd cover the food at sea. So I found a log. I found a log of the food provided for the English explorer Martin Frobisher, who was on his second voyage to America before the 17th century. And what in his log was considered sufficient for 120 men for a 4-month trip, which is what it took to get from England to North America in
120 for 4 months. Yeah,
yeah, nearly in the 1600s.
Right.
Included in the food list on Frobisher's ship were 1 pound of biscuit, which is called hardtack, per man per day. 1 gallon of beer per man per day, which doesn't sound too bad. What's a gallon? Like 2 pints? No.
Yeah, I have no idea what a gallon is, I've got to be honest.
Let me see what the conversion of a gallon to a pint.
If it's anything less than 5, I'd be quite annoyed.
Oh, well, hang on. That's 8 pints. 8
Oh, you're laughing. Never mind then. Pirate life is for me. A day? 8 pints a day?
1 gallon of beer per man per day. 1 pound of salt. That's a lot, isn't it? A gallon of beer. I think it's because they didn't have water. So it was very
is it like weak though? Is it just enough alcohol in it to keep it like sort of clean? Because they used to do that, didn't they? Because it was easier to keep a bit of grog or whatever.
Than water.
A bit cleaner than water. Yeah.
1 pound of salt beef or pork per man per day, plus 1 dried codfish for every 4 men on fast days. So I think there were some days where they didn't eat meat, and there'd be some codfish then for 4 men. Then oatmeal and rice were loaded into the backs in case the fish runs short on supply. And then there's 1/4 pound of butter and 1/2 pound of cheese per day per man. And then there was some honey, because sugar still was a rare luxury back then. And then there'd also be a hogshead, which was 64-gallon barrel, which was used as cooking oil. So a hogshead was the equivalent to a 64-gallon barrel of cooking oil.
Right, of cooking oil, got you.
Yeah, and then a pipe of vinegar. Which is funny.
Pipe.
But the main food staple
save the vinegar, mate.
Yeah, put that aside, mate. Maybe some Worcestershire sauce.
Put that aside, someone else can have my pipe that day. All right, I'm done.
The main food staple though was these hardtack biscuits, and it was the main because they had a really long shelf life. Pretty much, they'd last for longer than you or I would last. They've
got a really sort of delicious sounding name as well.
Yeah,
hardtack.
Well,
sounds fucking horrible.
They were hard, dry biscuits that you had to moisten them up with water or beer to make them easier to chew. So you'd literally have these giant, crispy, crunchy, like really, really thick, chewy bricks, and then you had to
like dunking my malted milk in my pint. I don't think so. No, thank you.
Well, typically the hardtacks, they also had weevils inside them. Because they were loaded onto the ship way in advance of the ship setting off, sometimes months in advance, so then they'd get these little weevils in there. So I found like a menu for what you'd have for what could be given to you for a standard evening meal for a seaman, and let me know what you think of this.
Go on.
So salted meat with peas porridge, which is dried fish with a mixture of pea soup, accompanied by, of course, the famous hardtack biscuit.
Oh, lush.
And although this sounds like a slightly wholesome meal, as the weeks went on, the meat would spoil and the butter would turn rancid and the beer would go sour. So by the end of it, the biscuits were often reduced to dust from the weevils. Sounds fucking awful.
So at the end, what you getting? Fucking sour beer, sour butter, and then a bit of dust on top.
Yeah, just make it a little paste. So anyway, now we know a little bit more what it's like to be on a ship. I'm going to head back to our boy Bart.
Back to Barty, baby.
So, yeah, he's recently realised that the pirate's life is for him, and he's pretty much second in command now after Howell Davis, who is the commander. Remember I said Barty and his former crewmates were captured by 2 boats at the start? I said there was the Royal Rover and the Royal James. Well, the Royal James had to be ditched due to the worm damage and it started to sink. So Howell headed to find dry
Bugs,
land.
the enemy of the pirate, apparently.
the pesky weevils always getting up to no good.
Bloody weevils.
So Howell headed to find land, and he went to the island of Principe. I might have said that wrong. I know.
I didn't know how to say it either, mate.
Do you know this one as well? Yeah. So when he got there, it was a Portuguese island, or owned by the Portuguese. And as he pulled up, Howell hoisted a false flag of the British man of war, which I didn't research this, but I think it's like to hoist the British man of war is like to imply that you're a real captain of the British Navy, so they know not to attack you or to know you're not a pirate. So you hoist up this flag, and is that right?
Yeah, wasn't it like it was a ruse, wasn't it, by him to sort of gain entry? Yeah.
So he has his big boat, which I assume he's already stolen from the British, and he's coming into this land, and they can see the flag isn't a pirate flag. So his plan was to land, invite the governor on board. It's quite ballsy. Like, he's already lost one ship because of the weevils. And now he's like, right, I can
these little tiny bugs, but I'll give this a go.
Yeah, so he's going to land, invite the governor on board, pretend he's a part of the British Navy, have a spot of tea, and then string him up and hold him hostage. A classic pirate move, if you ask me. So he's about to send his men to get the governor, but before he could send off the message, some blokes already turned down to the boats to check them in and say, hey, we've noticed the flag, we can tell you're good lads. Do you want to come to the fort with the governor and have some fancy wine and a chat?
You top British boys, come on up for a fucking jar. Yeah.
But even though the guys meeting them, I think that they're Portuguese, they're not British, but they must, they get along.
Oh no, I mean they've seen this British flag,
yeah,
so like
yeah.
you're British boys, we know you.
British,
Come on.
British boys, through. Brexit means Brexit. Okay.
I bloody love it. Actually, bloody love Britain. Bloody love it all.
So anyway, off the old trot. So off Howell and a few other people go, but he leaves Barti in charge of the ships because he trusts him the most. So Howell trots off and heads to the governor. And as he's on the way there, he's ambushed and he's shot because the Portuguese were clever and they clocked the fact they were most likely pirates. And I don't know how, but
they did him dirty, didn't they?
Well, I'm going to assume they realised it because everyone on the boat was going, ho, 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 a pirate's eye.
Yeah. Everyone's there with their Jolly Roger fucking bandanas on and one eye patch. And yeah.
You know in The Simpsons when that beer baron guy's there and he goes, what kind of pet store is open at 2 a.m?
Pet shop, eh? Well, I just have one question. What kind of pet shop is filled with rambunctious yahoos and hot jazz music at 1 a.m.?
The best damn pet shop in town.
Yeah!
Well, after that, Barti and the rest of the pirates scarpered and they went to regroup. And once they escaped the Portuguese, they were leaderless. And apparently, it didn't take too long for the rest of the gang to unanimously vote Barti as the head honcho, aka the big pirate, aka I forgot what's the person in charge of a ship called? The captain.
Captain.
aka Capitan. So yeah, from there.
Capitan. I read that apparently from the day he got captured by Howell to the day he got made captain was about 6 weeks.
Well,
and considering in the Navy he would never be able to get promoted because he was a commoner.
That's good.
He's doing pretty well for himself.
Well, mate, from farmhand to serving in the Royal... Well, yeah, also, Howell himself hadn't been a pirate very long, and he was just really, really good at it until he got shot in the gob. But, like you said, there, so from farmhand to serving in the Royal Navy, to being captured, to second in command, to now captain, the boy's done well.
Not bad at all. It's gumption, see? It's all about... If you believe it, you can do it.
Do you remember Captain Morgan stole that gun from the governor of Panama when we covered it before?
Yeah.
So
and he said, didn't he say, or didn't he say he gave him the pistol and said, "I'll be back for this"?
He took it originally, and then he gave it back to the governor and said, "I'll come back here to steal this from you anytime I want." It's like a real ballsy
That's right.
move.
Yeah, badass line.
Well, Barti Ddu did something similar, and in one of his escapades, he managed to steal a gigantic diamond cross that belonged to the King of Portugal. It was like a piece of jewellery. And he used to wear that everywhere he went with a giant peacock feather in his hat. So, paint the picture of a man of style.
He was absolutely a picture of fashion, wasn't he, for a pirate? Like I've read some descriptions. You probably got them later on, but don't spoil it. But yeah, he's an absolute. He's just blinged out. He loves his jewelry.
Well, if you got them to hand, give them a read because
yeah. So he he was very well known for the way he dressed, especially in battle. His usual outfit consisted of a damask waistcoat. I'm not sure what damask waistcoat is, but use your imagination. A red feather in his hat, a gold chain with a diamond crucifix around his neck. That's the said diamond crucifix you're on about. Yeah. And he just was adorned with rings and gold and all that sort of stuff.
He is a bit
he basically. Yeah, Captain Hook, I think. Were you going to say that? Yeah. I was going to say, blinged out Captain Hook.
Don't stop me,
sounds amazing.
Smee.
Don't you dare try to stop me, Damascus.
Don't try to stop me this time, Smee. Don't try to stop me this time, Smee. Don't you dare try to stop me this time, Smee. Try to stop me.
What a film. Absolute
film. God. I got to watch that again now.
Yeah. I mean, we say that. We have watched it quite a lot together.
You can never watch it too much, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good form, Hall, good form.
No.
The poo box. Get the poo box.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure we put clips of that in this podcast already.
Oh, we have actually, on one of the episodes. I know exactly which one it is. I won't spoil it though.
Right. Anywho, so back to him. So not just being a good fashionista, he was also an incredibly successful pirate. And at one time, he became so successful at pirating across the Atlantic Ocean, which was the focus of the triangular slave trade. So I think that it went from Britain to Africa to North America, and then back to Britain. So that kind of triangle. He was so prolific at stealing ships that he practically brought the slave trade to a standstill because he was always robbing ships going between those routes.
No one would ever sail through there because they'd be had by old Barti.
No, and this isn't years apart. Like you said, this is happening within weeks. He'd only been a part of this captaincy. He'd only been a captain for within this year, and he was so dreaded by the others that when he harboured in Newfoundland, crews from 20 separate ships abandoned their posts in Scapa just because he was coming into town. And
I knew he was big time.
He was regarded as the great pirate. And they spelled pirate
with a Y, wasn't it?
Yeah, the old Y.
We know it.
And it's the reason we're doing this podcast is these people who are so influential and so massive part of history just don't seem to have a huge amount about them. They reference him in some Assassin's Creed games and they talk about it in some other stuff, but he is one of the most prolific.
It's never sort of fully explored, is it? It's like you go, it'll be someone called Bartholomew Bart Roberts or Black Bart.
Yeah, they don't really talk about him. And he was the most.
They don't say sort of what has happened and the fact that he's Welsh and everything like that. I think that certainly gets lost in translation.
But they don't. He's not part of the collective talk of pirate history. I don't know. That's a mad thing to say, but it's a similar thing with Owen Glendower. It's I do think we're not great at telling our own history, and it's not for anybody else to tell it. So it's important that we try and at least give it a bit of a.
And we're the boys to do it.
But I was also thinking. I was thinking, why don't they talk enough about this? Or it's because. Who else is going to talk about it unless we do? So I'm really glad that we did this podcast, just so at least I'd say we're doing really well for numbers, aren't we, for listeners?
Not doing too bad.
Blown our mind. I cannot
don't
believe
want to toot our own horn, but we're not doing bad. We're not doing bad. In another episode, I'm pretty sure you're going, thanks so much, guys, for listening. We have a bunch of freaks like you interested in this.
You are. If you like us, you've got to be psychos, which I adore.
Yeah, that's kind of psychos.
Historians also attribute the skull and crossbones to Barti Ddu, the most pirate thing you can get.
Yeah, because he absolutely loved changing his flag for whatever it was, flavour of the month. He was great at it. The one I think you're referring to, it's almost like a sort of a pre-Jolly Roger, and it's a skull with a cutlass underneath it. Of course, the normal Jolly Roger is either two cutlasses or two bones.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Beneath the skull, but he's got he changed his flag for whatever thing that griped him at the time or whatever. He was a massive fashionista, I think. Judging by how he dressed and everything, and he used to change his flag. I like to think he was sewing them himself. There's one time, we'll probably cover this in a different episode, but he lost a battle with some Barbadians, I think it was, and another sort of an island around there as well. And so he changed his entire flag for a long period of time to having his foot on the skull, and underneath it was it had initials that were Barbadian people or something like that, and then he had like a flaming sword in his hand. And I was thinking, like, lost a naval battle, and he's like, well then, let's see how big you're feeling now after I sew a new flag with a biting image on it. Oh, you bastard.
Imagine having to be the man who fixes his flags for him, because I can't imagine
commission that
on the
one.
sea.
What's this, mate? Yeah, like the pre-Jolly Roger, cool as hell. There's another one where he's got like holding a flaming sword to death to be like he won't be killed. Yeah. I'm like, God, you are so extra, Barty. He's such an extra boy.
He also has one where he's toasting a skeleton, and he's like, he's just wild, but he's a very flamboyant. He became like, I think they call them buccaneers, where they're a bit like more swashbuckling and kind of. I think we discussed this with Captain Morgan. Like, they don't really get arrested when they go back home because they have like this good brand.
Everyone loves them so much. There's so much like pageantry about it. They're like, oh, he's a laugh though, isn't he? And they go, yeah, you're right. You can't.
He does look just like Hook. Like, he's got a real kind of swag about him. So I was thinking, if you agree, we should park Barti's story there for now, because I've waffled on enough about enough superfluous stuff. Right, after a quick on-air discussion, we've agreed we're going to finish this episode here, but we're going to carry on recording, and we're going to go through the pirate's code, which he created, and that'll come out in a week's time. So this will be a 2-part episode spread across 2 weeks, but we will come back to do Barti Ddu's battles and more like unique confrontations with other people later on down the line. How's that sound?
Yeah, he's got a good few ones, isn't he? So like when we were looking at research, we went, too much to read, mate. Too much. So we'll come back to that.
We don't want to blow our beans too quick with him. So that's the prelude. And then stay tuned for next week's episode, where we'll go into his pirate code, which is, I think it was 11.2 or something like that.
Something like that, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And
you're right, it's 11. It is 11.
Yeah. And then we'll come back to him in a couple of weeks' time. But for now, diolch yn fawr am gwrando. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you to everyone who's been listening so far as well, because it's given us a massive boost of confidence.
Yeah, if you could like and subscribe on your platform that you listen to, drop a 5-star, it would mean an awful lot of help to us. And yeah, we'll jump straight into the next episode. So see you soon. Love you. Bye.